With stage 4 power cuts currently in effect, we visit various schools, hospitals and clinics now in Johannesburg to see how they're coping with an unreliable power supply. eNCA's Lindokuhle Xulu is in the city trying to get some answers. Lindo, you've been out and about this morning. We saw problems at Home Affairs in Cape Town. What have you observed so far?
Well, Annika, you're right. In fact, we were out and about from yesterday, just crisscrossing the areas of Gauteng, while my colleague Nobesuthu Ejane was in Cape Town, just trying to give our viewers a glimpse, really, of how it looks like with the effects of that stage 4 load shedding in effect. And one of the things that we were tasked to do today is to try and get a sense of how sectors of government, of how important institutions are doing with this load shedding that is currently in effect. We do understand that it started yesterday when, in fact, Eskom announced that they'll be elevating it from stage 2 to stage 4. But right now we found ourselves in Kempton Park. This is where the headquarters of Sadtu are. And in fact, we want to speak now to Baba Fagute from Sadtu. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, the effects of this load shedding, these power cuts when it comes to teaching and learning, could you capture those for us?
Yeah, in fact, Lindokuhle, first let me start by greeting you and greet the viewers as well. I must say that as a union, actually, we are quite disappointed because in terms of the energy supply situation in this country, we seem to be regressing and not moving forward. We move from stage 2. In fact, we are graduating to higher stages when we believe that actually we should be doing better. Now, our view, our very, very strong view is that we are severely affected. In fact, we are adversely affected also as educators within the classroom context. You remember, Lindokuhle, that teaching and learning does not only happen in the classroom, it also happens at home. So therefore, there are tasks and activities that some of our learners need also to conduct, but then they are not able to do those without electricity. During the day, not all classes can actually receive natural light, which means it brings another challenge. But then you still have got schools that rely on water pumps, which are relying on electricity for them to be able to function. So you can see that we've got that part of those serious challenges. But then again, obviously, there are security concerns. We've got vandalism. We know that in this country, basically, we still view education perhaps sometimes as a bargaining chip for other issues, for instance. So we are saying as a union that maybe what needs to happen is that we need to start coming up with a very clear green energy strategy, which means that how then do we assist schools to get alternative sources of energy so that at least teaching and learning can continue. I mean, those who are also doing the technical subjects, those who also rely on smart boards, for instance, nothing can happen when there is no electricity. The traffic in the morning during peak hours, learners, teachers arriving late. So we're saying that it is becoming a crisis, and we're hoping that we can find a solution to this ASAP.
And you speak about some of those that have already gotten into an advanced stage that really the education sector is calling for, moving towards fourth industrial revolution tools to actually conduct teaching and learning. This contrast then of the calls of saying schools must be modernized versus the lack of a consistent electricity or power supply then means that we need to open up that conversation before we get to the fourth industrial revolution. But just speak to us in terms of then that progress that you are seeking for versus this issue of electricity.
In fact, it actually makes a mockery of some of those policy directives. For instance, we have even new subjects that are being introduced continuously, relating to the fourth industrial revolution, relating to how society and the economy is evolving as well. But now, of course, how then do you even try to narrow the digital divide, which we still see between the haves and the haves not? How do you then narrow it when we still are struggling to even get a reliable supply of energy? And I mean, the levels of anxiety, that both teachers and learners even experience when they can't even have adequate time to prepare for class the following day, or to even continue because of light, the lack of light, it really does become a problem. And we believe that really should be decisive as a country moving forward.
All right, thank you so much, Babu Fagute from Sadtu, just giving us a comprehensive understanding of the effects of load shedding when it comes to schooling environment. Not only speaking about the issues or the regress in terms of trying to even level the playing playing field when it comes to modernizing schools. But speaking about something quite important, some schools depending on power to generate water, which is an essential need when you are at school. And we do know, and we've witnessed that when there is no water in certain areas, schooling needs to be concluded at an earlier stage. And then it speaks volumes in terms of trying to catch up in terms of the syllabus while having to deal with all of these issues. A reaction from a teachers union giving us a sense and perspective of how it gets affected when it comes to such things as load shedding.
All right, thank you so much, Lindo. And I should think that things hopefully don't get worse and that we don't get to stage 6 load shedding.